Okay, it is 11:30, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I will try and keep it around 30 minutes today. We do have a little bit of a smaller group just because we have other webinars going on this week, which is a great opportunity for you guys to jump in, ask questions if you have them. I can always slow down, go back in slides. Once we get to the demo part, go there. So um, whatever works best for you all, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm Hallie. I'm going to be walking us through the webinar. Just to give you a little bit of a background on Reviewr, we were founded due to members of our team being on review boards and running these application management programs and just seeing a really big disconnect, seeing where there's not a good process for the applicants, there's not a good process for the volunteers who are coming in. And so just kind of recognizing that and then doing something about it. And so with that, they have kind of over the last, that it was founded in 2011. So over the last 10, 15 years, have started to kind of figure out what works best for those who are running those application management programs, what's not working, and what we need to continue to work towards to continue to make strides and make it a better process for everyone involved. Because really in every aspect of life that we do, there's going to be some kind of application that we are going to have to fill out, some kind of process. And so really just kind of highlighting that, using it to the best of our abilities and making it as overall as good of a process as possible is the overall goal. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's webinar is about how your community investment should feel like a member benefit. And so this is just kind of going to be walking through. This applies to credit unions, banks, but can also apply to many other different kind of applications that are ran through community-based organizations, and kind of talk about how the programs that we're running need to feel like a benefit to those who are applying. It needs to be a good process for anyone who is involved. So just to kind of go over everything that we are going to be covering today, we're going to start out with what matters most, and that's that the programs that you're running, whether that's scholarship, grants, awards, making sure that that aligns with what your credit union already believes in. You guys are all very well established in your communities. You know what your goals are, you know what your values are, and so really highlighting that within our application program, making sure that the members who are applying, the community members who are applying, see that you are sticking with what you already know and what is important to you. Second thing is asking only what you need. I know that a lot of people who are running these programs are having a hard time keeping those retention numbers up, having more applicants come in and growing from year to year. And one of the best ways to do that is to kind of keep it a short and sweet process for them. People are going to stray away from having to spend hours upon hours filling out an application form. And so making sure that we're asking less questions, but still really good quality questions so we can really get down to what we need to know for this application process. Third thing is going to be one system for every program. So as I kind of touched on just in the introduction, this is for credit unions and banks, and a lot of people who are running those, we have some scholarships, grants, awards, internal reward programs, applications, anything like that. And so you might be running more than one program. And so making sure that we can do that all in one place is going to help you as the administrator, but then also those applicants when they can log in and they can see every program that they can apply for and have applied for in the past. That makes it a really great process, very easy for them to kind of just log in and see where they're at with everything. The fourth thing is understanding why the experience is the benefit, why this fast, respectful process, what's that actually going to mean to the applicant and what that ends up meaning for you as the admin. Making sure that we are highlighting on their experience, increasing our numbers, getting them excited to do this from year to year, and then applying to the other programs that you might be running. Fifth thing is going to be scorecards for your priorities. So going kind of back onto asking those good quality questions and sticking with what matters most to you all, is gearing those scorecards towards those values. So if you are really into the community leadership and involvement, then we want to make sure that our scorecard and our questions really pertain to that aspect of things. And so making sure that we have a scorecard that's able to kind of adjust and flex with you as those changes and as those values might evolve over the years. And then the last thing that we'll touch on is reporting that proves impact. This is a huge gap that we see with clients coming in from using maybe Google Forms, PDFs, or any other kind of application management software, where you go through your awards, your scholarships, your grants from year to year, and you don't really see how you're doing. You don't know how exactly how many applications you have. You don't know kind of the range, the numbers, where you're at from year to year. And so reporting is really important and something that we really want to be actually taking into consideration from year to year when running these programs. Starting out with that first topic is why the experience is the benefit. A lot of the times when you are running maybe your internal awards, or when you're running your grant application for the community, it's kind of just a quick application, a transaction, log in, get it done, and move on with it. And we really want to shift from that. These are members of your credit union, your bank, your community. And so giving them an opportunity to kind of sit down and go through a process that isn't so painful for them, is quick, down to the point, is a really great process for them and is really going to help you out in the long run. So just kind of some of the problems that we're seeing from those applicants is just kind of the confusion of do they have my application? Has it been successfully submitted? Kind of a little gray area of knowing that they finished but not knowing where it's at. Second thing is they're trying to figure out that status by calling you admin or emailing, which then turns into a bad experience for you as well, because that's a lot of upkeep for you on top of your job. Understanding that a lot of you guys who are running these programs, this isn't your only job or your main job. It's just kind of something that got added on. And so making sure that the experience for you is very smooth, as well, is super important. Third thing is just re-expanding the situation to whoever picks up, re-explaining it, making sure that it's super intuitive for everyone, applies to everyone. Waiting weeks with no updates, really clear communication, not relying on you as admin alone to have to individually reach out to everyone, keep them kind of in the unknown. Everything is live and they can see exactly where they're at in that process. And then a process that feels like a formality, not just a transaction. So they're not just logging in, putting a few words down, and just clicking submit. A process that gets them excited to actually showcase what they have towards this grant, scholarship, award, whatever it might be. Transitioning over to how this experience can be with Reviewr. First thing is instant confirmation, which is arguably one of the admin and applicant's favorite products of Reviewr, I would say, is just that as soon as an applicant clicks submit, they get that confirmation email and they can see the status that their application is in, which is really helpful. Just kind of takes the stress off of the unknown of where they're at in that process. Real-time status, just kind of touch on that, see exactly where they're at. Third thing is a process that reflects the credit union they already know. So they know who you all are as a credit union or bank, as an organization. And so making sure that that process reflects who you actually are. You guys are great places to do business with. So making sure that that application process kind of falls in that same category. Clear next steps at every stage, just having a really intuitive process for the applicants. When you are doing a Google form or a PDF, sometimes it's confusing about what the next step is. And where everything is in one place all online, you really can customize that and make sure that it's very clear for your applicants that once you click submit, there will be a little bit of time. You can see that you've successfully submitted, but then we're going to wait and go through this review process. So just making sure that there's that understanding, and then a process that feels like it was built for them. Just kind of that customizable experience, not like every other application they filled out across any kind of concept. Next thing is starting with what matters to the credit union. This is really important when kind of customizing your award, your grant, your scholarship, is matching up with your values and your goals. So, handful of initiatives that matter most to you more than likely are going to be your financial literacy, maybe target towards those first-time home buyers, small businesses, anything like that. That's a very, very broad range of people who might be applying to your program. And so you kind of have to be able to fit it to everyone, but still make it feel custom enough that they're being seen. They don't think that they're just thrown into the mix, and they can see that you are a real priority. So, kind of going along with that is just kind of looking at your niches, looking at what applies to what. Maybe you do need to separate some of these scholarships or award programs and make them a little bit more custom just so all of your members do feel seen, but then still having that access where everything is in one place, easy for you as admin and easy for those members who are maybe applying to more than one program. Next thing is going to be a simple branded experience for every member. So just kind of going back onto a guided form, a short form, it's guided. It feels like it was built by your credit union. They're used to what that looks like. Again, something unique with Reviewr that you don't see in a lot of the other application management programs is that we can really customize it to look just like your credit union built it. That can be brand colors, your logos, the name. There's really not a lot of limits as to what you can and can't put on there, which is a really great way to show that you've put the time in, you've built it so it's specific to your members, to your community, and that you're really looking for that. Second thing is just kind of touching back on everything being in one place. We've talked about that with separate events. But the other thing with that is that every part of that application process is going to be in one place. So if you have budgets to be uploaded, if you have transcripts, however that might be, everything is going to be in one place and attached to the applicant individually. That makes it really easy for you as admin to have access to everything, check in on things, but then also fast forward to the review process. Having everything in one place for your judges is also super important because that makes it a great experience for them as well. Then last thing that we also have kind of touched on is just tracking your status. It really helps kind of relieve those applicants, give them a peace of mind when they can see that they have submitted, what time it was submitted, and what status they're in. Another just kind of quick note here is that you can apply to anything through Reviewr on any device. We're in the day and age where almost everything is going to be on a phone, a tablet, a desktop, computer, however that might be. And so that accessibility is really important when it comes to really pushing out those applications to everyone. Next thing to kind of touch on is a member's path from applicant to success story. So you want those applicants to be able to apply in minutes. So a longtime member will apply, small business grant just over their quick lunch break. They logged in, easy to log in, didn't have to re-enter personal information, credit union information because that account was already there, moved on with their day. After they have submitted that, they know exactly where they stand. They know their status. They had that confirmation. Few days go by, they check in, see they're still there, know that there's just waiting time before that review process, good to go. They're going to hear back first. They're going to see kind of a live update throughout your judging process, throughout the end. Automation is a really big thing in Reviewr. A lot of our admin are coming from events where they've had to manually reach out and contact all of those applicants, which is not a great process and isn't something that you as admin should have to do. And so automation with those emails, those updates, everything along those lines is helping make a better experience for the applicant because they do have that constant kind of communication, but then also for you as admin, one less thing to take off your plate. And then the flip side of this is becoming an advocate. When you have that really great experience for those applicants and even for those judges, that's going to help grow your program. They're going to go to other members and say, hey, this was a really great experience. I got this award, I got this grant. Really easy process. You should definitely apply next year. And then that person is going to say, oh, I heard from Jordan that I should apply to this. Spreading from word of mouth and then from judges who might know based on what they've judged that someone else in the community would apply for this grant or for this award. And so pushing that when there's a good experience for everyone involved, that's really going to help get more people in, boost your numbers up, and really just have even more involvement in your program. Next thing is asking only what you need. Something that we really push with a lot of our clients coming into Reviewr is instead of just copying and pasting what your current program truly is to kind of customize it and make it better. Reviewr has just about every question type that you could think of. And the great thing about that is that when you have kind of a little bit more diversity in your questions, you get a more well-rounded application and more well-rounded knowledge of who those applicants truly are. And so just kind of utilizing all of those different question options, keeping everything in one place. The other thing about that is that makes your reports look really nice in a Excel sheet, which is really great. One more thing to kind of touch on when you are building out these application forms is eligibility. This is another huge time saver for you all as admin. Whatever program you're running, chances are there's some way, somehow, that there might be some kind of eligibility. Not everyone is going to be able to apply for it or able to be awarded. And so what we can do is we can set up eligibility within that form with questions tailored to what that eligibility might be. And say you have an applicant who isn't eligible, they won't be able to actually submit the form, make it all the way through. That's going to save your time from weeding out those applicants and then assigning them to reviewers, only to find out that they are actually not eligible. And that's also going to save time and frustration from that applicant. They didn't just spend the time gathering all this information, submitting a form just to find out that they weren't eligible in the first place. So that's a really big thing. That really does make a big difference when running these kinds of programs. And when we say shorter application, don't skimp out. Make sure that we're really getting what you need that tailors towards your organization. But really just making sure we're not adding in a bunch of extra questions, items that really doesn't pertain to your application process. Make it easier for those applicants. Touching kind of moving forward onto the judging process, and this is going to be for scorecards that are built around your priorities. So kind of touched on what are your goals, what are your values of this credit union, and or bank, whatever you guys might be. And how do we want to push that towards building the questions so we capture the information that matters most to us. On the other side of that, we have the actual judging portion. Judging is a big item in Reviewr that we really try to improve experience when we do bring on board new customers. Making sure that all of our judges have the same scorecard. That's something that we see a lot of where we ask our incoming clients, okay, what does your judging process looks like? And we just send out these applications and our judges give us some kind of random score. Number one important thing is to make sure that the judges are all scoring based on the same scorecard. So making sure everyone has the same point value, same questions, even that playing field for those applicants. Second thing is making sure that those questions pertain exactly to the application and are highlighting what matters most to you. On the other side of that is something that we have that a lot of other programs don't have is we can weight the scores. And so we have 5 questions, and instead of putting them all evenly, we can weight them so that if community impact is your number one priority, we can change it so that that is going to actually have a little bit more pull on the overall score than reach and equity, for example. One last thing to kind of touch on with the scorecards is we really try to stray our clients away from using 1 through 5 or 1 through 10 ratings or whatever that range might be, just for the fact that when it kind of comes down to it and you're neck and neck with applications and you have those judges revisit, say, 2 applications where one got a 9 out of 10 and one got an 8 out of 10, and you ask, what separated this application from the next? Why did they get a 9 instead of an 8? And when it comes down to it, a lot of times it's, well, I guess I don't have a really great reason. It just seemed like it fit this category more, which isn't something you want at the end of the day. And with that, a 9 and an 8 can mean 2 completely different things for 2 different judges. And so when we gear more towards emotional responses, such as meeting expectations, exceeding expectations, using more emotional responses, that tends to kind of narrow down where we're actually at in the evaluation process. So just kind of narrows that down. And then when you don't see a point value specifically associated with those questions, it is easier for judges to kind of decipher, this exceeds expectations rather than meets it. So really important to kind of build those scorecards and evaluation processes to make sure that we have the most fair process for those applicants as possible. Touching back in on the fact that a lot of our credit unions, banks, associations that are running events through Reviewr are doing more than just one event. It could be grants, scholarships, awards, very different events, but when it's all in one place, that again makes a really great process for everyone involved. I'll touch on this a little bit, but Reviewr is account-based. And so every person who comes in, admin, judges, and the actual applicants will create an account. And what that allows for is saving progress, which is a huge contender when deciding kind of where to run your scholarships, your awards, your grants. because that is a huge thing that is super helpful for applicants who are maybe trying to fill this out between meetings or calls, whatever it might be. That save progress is a really, really great way to kind of ensure a good experience and say, hey, I got your back to your applicants. And so having everything in one place additionally is super convenient for you all as admin because everything is in one place. You can click from program to program, whether it's year to year or it's completely different programs. Really great way to kind of keep everything easy, simple, and in one place for you all. And then kind of the last thing that we'll touch on is reporting that proves your impact. And this is something that is very much overlooked that really shouldn't be. You're running these programs from year to year. You're getting the okay to run them from year to year. But how much impact are you actually making? We give out all this money to your scholarships, your grants, and where is that actually going towards? We want to see who you're serving, what area, what communities you're serving, where your investment is actually going and how it's impacting the community around you. And so Reviewr actually allows for impact reporting, all within the same place, same form. Everything will be together so you can see the applicant's main application and then you can see their follow-up, seeing where this actually went towards, which is a really great way. One other thing for reporting that is really helpful for you as admin is we really want to improve our cycle from year to year. And so looking at reporting, look at what questions were best answered, what were not, how we can improve that to have a more well-rounded, organized, best application for next year. And then just comparing numbers from year to year, see if you're slowly kind of rising those numbers or maybe you've plateaued and see what you can do to continue to grow. Because at the end of the day, on top of giving out this money, we also want to grow this program, which is really important. Just to kind of cover some of the key takeaways that we've talked about so far, and then I'm going to transition over and show you all what Reviewr actually looks like, show you that application process, what the judges see, kind of give you a better idea. First thing, just kind of going back to the overarching goal of the webinar is to understand that your application process needs to feel like a member benefit, not just a transaction. Branded effortless process. That's going to build trust and that's going to increase your completion within the application. Seeing that it was built out by your credit union, you can see that the time that has been put into it really makes a great experience for your applicants. A shared and qualitative scorecard means every member is going to be judged fairly and the same way, making sure that we are really angling those scorecards so that the judges can put their best effort forward to give the best scores out, and then those applicants can see that reflection. Reporting that shows you not just where your dollars are going, but kind of how those dollars are actually impacting your community, those recipients, seeing where that money is going towards. Next is building a program around the initiative it's meant to serve, not just a generic template. So again, gearing everything towards what your organization's core values, your efforts, what's most important to you, and really seeing that being reflected in whatever application program you are running. Fewer, better targeted questions that are going to respect your applicant's time. You will have increased numbers if you don't have a 10-page long application process. One system that's going to make everything more convenient for your team. Everyone can have access to it. It's all going to be in one place. Everything is going to be organized for you, essentially. And then a great experience is going to turn your applicants, turn your recipients into advocates. Kind of really just growing those numbers, pushing, advancing every year. And then one last thing before we walk through that, just looking at what this is going to look like in Reviewr. Your branded application portal, make it look like it fits right in with your organization. Those real-time status updates, keep those applicants happy and in the know, clear communication so that they know exactly where they're at in that process. And then a fair and consistent review. Big thing is that honesty, that unbiased, that fairness when it comes to actually awarding these programs. And then for your team, configurable actions, really customize this program to best work for you, for your program, for everything involved. Centralized administration, this is a huge one. Make it easier for everyone who's helping you run this program, for yourself, for however many programs you're running. Everything in one place is going to help you a ton. And then reporting and copyable events. That's something that I did not really touch on. But from year to year, we talk about actually improving those events. And with that kind of comes a little bit of hesitation where it's like you don't want to have to make a lot of changes from year to year, don't want to start from scratch. With Reviewr, you can copy past events, copy it over is what we call it, and then you'll make those edits and you'll have your event for the new year while keeping your same core base past year event. So as you copy over and create these new events from year to year, you still have that main one that you can look back on, see what worked, what didn't, which is really convenient for you all as admin. And once you kind of get things solid and locked down to what works best for you, less changes, you'll copy over in a click of a button and you'll be ready to go for the year. Moving over just to what the actual experience looks like in Reviewr. So you'll have a branded microsite as we talked about, and that's kind of your landing page where people will go to apply to your event. They will create an account, email address, password, first name, last name, and with that account creation, that will autofill places within the application form right here, for example. Just to kind of give you an idea of the different question types that Reviewr offers. Again, these different question types fit perfectly into any report that you need, which is really great, and kind of endless opportunity for what kinds of questions you want to ask. Moving along, this scholarship matching tool is just kind of an example of if you're offering multiple scholarships, you can kind of match the applicant with what best applies for them, what scholarship would best line up for them that's going to apply to grants, awards, whatever you're running as well. And then this is also kind of where we tie in that eligibility. So ask the eligibility questions and either advance them to the awards scholarships that apply best to them or kick them out of the form. Unfortunately, they are not eligible. Please apply again when you are eligible. So really great way to kind of weed out those applicants who it's not applicable to them to be applying. Just some more questions. And then here's just kind of an example of kind of where your applicant is at. Just kind of more example questions of what you could potentially use. We have these files here, Reviewr is SOC 2 compliant, and so a really great way to make sure that all your applicants' data is safe, which is really important when it comes to credit unions and banks, when more than likely you are going to be asking for those personal questions, tax ID numbers, whatever that might be. So having a compliant place to store all that information is really, really important. And then, yeah, here's just kind of some more examples of what your submission form can look like. Really a lot of endless options for how you want to set this up, what can best work for your program, how many questions, however you guys kind of want to set that up. I am going to move over and show you what that judging process looks like. So your judges will also create an account, log in, and they'll be taken to a dashboard where they can see all the submissions that they have to evaluate. If they have evaluated them in the past, you can see the score that they were given. If it is private data that you need to keep anonymous, we can also block everything out to where it's only the actual bulk of your application, excluding the personal data information, which is really helpful when you do kind of run community-based events. So hopping into this, this is what that judge view looks like. Probably the number one complaint we hear from judges coming into Reviewr from past experiences is having to open up 10 different tabs, 5 different files, and kind of keep everything organized, which is completely understandable. These are your volunteers who are volunteering to get these judging done and do it well. And so we really want to make sure they have a great process so you can give them that best experience. So over here on the left, we have the actual application form that was filled out by those applicants. And then over here on the right is where you have that scorecard. Set this up kind of however works best for you. A really great thing about this as well is that if you do have those questions that you want to be weighted more and it's based on a specific drop down or multiple choice question, we can just line that up. So for this scholarship, a big bulk of the scoring is going to be ranked on GPA. If the applicant selected that they had a 3.5 to 4.0 GPA, they select that and then the points are automatically assigned to it. So leaves out any of that gray area or confusion that can come with the judging process. Here's just an example of some reference letters, excuse me, that can be attached within your submission form. That can be financial documents, letter recommendations, whatever that might be, all within the same place. They just click view and that can be pulled up for them. And then, yeah, if you are running a scholarship program, grant where you're attaching multiple people, however that might be, again, all in one place, really just focusing on getting everything in one place for you. You can see your total scores, everything kind of along those lines. Just a lot of really great visibility for those judges and for your applicants, which again, more visibility overall just ends up resulting in a better process for those applicants. And then for you as admin and for your judges as well. So with that being said, I can hop back over here and we can just look at any questions you might have. I know we're a smaller group, so better opportunity to ask questions that might pertain to your organization, anything kind of along those lines.
I have a question,
Yeah.
Hallie. I'm Kelly, by the way. Um, when you were talking about kind of migrating away from a numbered
Mhm.
scorecard for and more emotional, does that not cause more issues where you have the same score, like more exceeds or whatever? We're going to do or have been doing a grant application for the last few years on a different platform, and we didn't really have scoring. We had,
Mhm.
you just did a check mark and then we had a discussion, and it caused a lot of um, not problems, but just too many in the same bucket. Um,
Yeah.
so I see the point system as actually being a real benefit. But can you give me a little more insight on that?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of the times when we do those more emotional responses, it does do a better job of actually separating off your applicants from who really is your top applicant and who kind of is more of that middle mark. It is easier for judges to kind of be more honest in that sense as well. You might run into more of the same scores, but that also can kind of be dependent based on how your scorecard is set up. It's going to be pretty unlikely that if you have, say, 10 evaluation questions that are going to be scored based on that emotional response, that you're going to run into a lot of applicants that are going to get the exact same score. But that still very well is possible and does happen. A lot of times, what we see our judges do or what our admin do is set up a comment box. And so some people do it if you have a shorter scorecard, say 5 questions. Underneath every question is please explain why you gave this score. If you have a longer one where that's not super realistic to add that commentary in, just at the end, maybe give a comment box explaining kind of why they deserve this score, why that was kind of ended up. So adding kind of just in a little bit more clarification is something that we've seen be successful for a lot of our admin running events like that right now, but very much a possibility for more similar scores.
Yeah. And what about like a hybrid? Would it make sense to have a hybrid of like points for some piece parts and some emotional responses for others?
Yeah, for sure. And we see that as well. And then a lot of times people will line up the points with the emotional responses. And if you do want to have kind of a broader range of points, which is perfectly fine, a lot of the times our admin will actually put in like a table, for example. So 1 through 10 could be does not meet the expectations, or if you have specific criteria for those kind of ranges, kind of fill in the ranges, and then they can give you that more solidified
Okay.
numerical
Yeah,
response.
that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah. Is there any other questions?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
Perfect. Okay, that sounds good. Um, there will be a follow-up coming soon with an opportunity to book a call if you guys have more specific questions, pricing models, how Reviewr can actually look in your program. So if you have any questions, please do reach out. You'll get a follow-up, should be by the end of the day today, if not early tomorrow morning. But if you guys do have any questions, feel free to reach out. And thanks for joining the webinar today.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
have a good day,
Sally.
guys.